In Vectorworks 2012 SP1 we've introduced a new feature in WinDoor to make assessments under the Building Code of Australia in conjunction with AS1428.1 2009 as to whether or not doors and openings comply for people with disabilities. And this standard specifies clearances on either sides of a door and an offset from the wall, and it also has varying approach methods, which you can see outlined in these couple of pages. It applies to hinge doors and to sliding doors. Now in WinDoor we have supported essentially 5 different types of doors. We have support for hinged doors, and these would be nominated as hinged left or hinged right. Again, this is a hinged left or hinged right doors, but the number of doors are 2, and there's an assumption here that when it's hinged left, this is a hinged left door, the left door will be the active leaf. And if you want to indicate the active leaf, you may not realize that under direction arrows, if you set, it's normally set to 3D only, that's the default setting, and the door will display like this. But if you want to show which is the active leaf, you can set the direction arrows to 2D and 3D inside, and you'll get that active leaf being illustrated. We then have support for uneven doors, and these can be created in WinDoor. Just quickly, if you look in the form dialog, if you create 2 width divisions and set them to hinged right and hinged left with the door widths that you want. And one other thing you need to do here is under frame you need to set the mullion to 0, and that will mean that the mullion that would normally get created here doesn't get created. That's the way that you can get these openings. And with WinDoor it will always assume that the larger of the 2 openings is the one that needs to comply. For sliding doors we support single wall face sliding doors, so the options won't appear if you have double wall face sliding doors at this point in time, and the same for cavity sliding doors. For single cavity sliding doors we support those, but if you increase these numbers above 1, then this feature won't be available. So let's turn on the class. There's a new class that this geometry gets put into, and this is what it looks like when you have that turned on. So you can see here the approach is coming front on, and then once inside the approach is from this direction, and we're getting these transparent boxes being created, and this is all being controlled by the class attributes for the class that we created. And these dimensions are all interactive. So for example, if we select this door and you want to increase this to 900, then obviously I'm going to have to increase the door leaf width by 50 millimeters. So if I was to add 50 millimeters on here, you'll see that these numbers are going to change accordingly. So all of these are interactive. If you change the handing on a door, so hinged left, if I change this to hinged right, obviously the door is no longer going to comply. So this way you can much more accurately set out your doors and do checking on them and change them more comfortably. Now this appears in the WinDoor interface, and there will be a movie that describes this in more detail, so I'm just going to cover it fairly quickly now. The interface changes are firstly in pens and colors. You'll see that there's a new class here down the bottom. you'll see that there's a new option here called accessibility, and here you can display lines and dimensions, lines only, or you can turn it off completely. And of course, because these are all in a class, you can show or hide all of them instantly as well. And the last place that it will appear in the interface is in the geometry dialog, and you'll see here that there's a new tab under Door called AS1428.1, and in this tab the door thickness is included here. This door thickness is also shown here as well, and these are interactive. If you change this one here, it will change this one, and vice versa. We have the jam rebate, the hinge offset, and these are described in the dialog down the bottom, in the illustration down the bottom here, and the door leaf width, resulting in a clear opening of 900, which is the number that you're interested in. The approaches can be controlled by clicking on this diagram here. So if I click, you'll see that this will change. It will cycle through the 4 possibilities, and same with the bottom here, this will cycle through the 4 possibilities. And here we can choose the dimension standard that we're using. So what gets created? We've talked about the class. Let's have a quick look at the class 1428. So here we've got the graphic attributes set to user creation. This is the color that's being used here for these transparent boxes. You can see the opacity set to 35%, and this is the pen color, pen thickness, and so on. For dimensions, you'll see that there's also an AS1428 dimension standard that's been created, and if we look at that, here you can specify the various aspects of the dimension, including the text style, and this is how you control the text in these diagrams. And that's the last resource that is created as part of this project. And if we look in the resource browser for this file, you'll see here is the AS1428 dimension standard. So that way, by editing that, you can control the font and the text size and so on. So that's pretty well an overview of this feature. There'll be a more detailed movie that discusses how you set this up in a file. There are some steps you need to go through for existing and new files just to get all of this stuff working correctly. So make sure you watch the more detailed movie on that.